Hello, chat. Today's finally Friday. It is the 16th of November, and we're doing security, design, and nonsense. Three sections on a Friday.
It's not the 16th of November.
Is it? Oh, it's October.
Krista, you would know if it was the 16th of November because if you looked out the window, everything would be on fire.
Wow. I mean, California's already there, so. I wish it was. Well, I don't know. I don't want to wish my life away, but like, I want things to be better.
You gotta live in the moment, Krista.
Listen, if you need something to take your mind off of the existential dread of just getting out of bed in the morning, there's Linode. There's any number of projects you can work on Linode. You can get free credits on Linode. Set up your next project. There's a really great tutorial section where you can do literally anything. You can set up your own Nextcloud instance, Plex media server. They're working on getting Plex Pass credits, but that's a whole other thing. Even the $5 instance will work really well. You can get some free credits. Use the link below. It's a lot of fun. Thank you, Linode, for sponsoring this episode of the news. And SSL with your Amazon AWS compatible object instance storage with your Vanity SSL certificate. They can do that now. That was a thing we did a video on a while back, and you couldn't do custom SSL. You got their SSL certificate, but now you can do a custom SSL certificate. It works. It's great. It's awesome. Woo!
Google is working on some new security features. They're trying to kill that whole "we spy on everything," idea that people have about them. They're not going to stop spying, but they are going to give you just a tiny smidge more ability to do things without the spying, maybe.
Google accounts get security boost with critical new alert system. So the headline's talking about if you're in a Google app, like say YouTube, and somebody's breaking into your email, you'll get a security alert in YouTube saying, hey, somebody might be trying to break into your email. And people should take that more seriously than they do other messaging mechanisms because one, they say it's impossible to spoof, and two, because it's a pop-up from within the application, not like an email or something like that, which people may not trust as much. You also get some options to say, hey, let's use the smart speaker in guest mode, and that's like incognito for your smart speaker.
I've been getting spam in my Google Slides, which I've never used.
Huh. I don't know.
People share slides with me, and they're obviously spam with phishing links in them.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You clicked on all those links, right?
Oh, yeah. Got to find out what they are, right?
Not only did I click on them, I gave them my level 1 password and my bank password and my email password and my social security number.
Look, it said free nudes. What am I going to do? In France, they have some weird laws. And this one goes back to 2006, which shows you how paranoid the government is of free information. I don't think they've ever enforced these. I have to think, don't you think, that there was some mitigating factor here?
Yeah.
They wanted these guys for some reason, had nothing on them, and they were like, oh, we'll get you for this.
5 bar and cafe owners arrested in France for running no-log Wi-Fi networks. So at least some of the arrested people are quoted as saying, do what now? We have to do what? That seems ridiculous. So they didn't, according to this, they didn't know. They had no idea that you're not allowed to run an open Wi-Fi hotspot that doesn't keep any logs, which is a little disturbing. Like something like that, I mean, yeah, we spy on everything, but something like that here in America would raise a lot of red flags, but for mostly the wrong reasons, not the reasons you're imagining. But I still don't think that would fly here.
Doesn't even have to be a public business. Even if you're just at your house and you got no password on your router, you can run afoul of this thing. If you're not keeping logs.
$375,000 fine up to.
Wow.
It seems like a lot.
They're all out on bail.
Or euro, I'm sorry.
But
euro fine.
It is a criminal offense, which is crazy.
They're not criminals. Information wants to be free and whatnot.
And the government doesn't want it to be. We talked about Zerologon a couple of weeks ago, and I think we had an update last week. It's out there, and the idea was like, well, okay, if you didn't patch, you're screwed. Well, looks like some people didn't patch.
Microsoft says that Iranian hackers are exploiting the Zerologon vulnerability. Don't know why there's more article.
Well, you got to put this picture of the flag there. That's important. State-sponsored. It does seem like a really easy one to use. I mean, if I were a state-sponsored hacker, I would try it. Why not? Sometimes, I would say one of the most common failures in the business world is the spreadsheet. A lot of people mess up the spreadsheet.
A lot of people don't understand how a spreadsheet is supposed to work and draw things in them.
We actually did a story about spreadsheets a while back, and some people posted, and they were like, if you understood how a spreadsheet worked and you weren't stupid, you would understand that like X, Y, and Z. No, it's not me, morons. It's the people we're supporting. They don't understand them. That's why you have the problems with the date formatting.
Remember those projects that we would get where they would have like a web page and they're like, make the web page like this? And the web page was supposed to contain a table of information.
They colored the cells.
And the spreadsheet was like, yeah, and it was just like, it's 3 times more work to convert this into a CSV now. Why did you do this?
Paint would have been a better option for what you did here. So yeah, people don't really understand how to use Excel or any kind of spreadsheet or anything like that. And sometimes when they don't, it's extra tragic.
The BBC News reports that the test error, quote unquote, should never have happened. So the BBC was keeping track of people who were infected with a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet, not a database. And apparently also using the 2003 version of Excel because it only supported like 16,000 rows and they ran out of columns. And so they just didn't know what to do, so they just stopped.
The 2003 version?
Yeah.
They called up the headquarters and they were like, we're going to need people to stop getting sick. We're out of rows.
I mean, that's sort of dysfunctional. That's a really insane level of dysfunctional.
So what happened as a result of this is the whole what do you call it when you track the
contact tracing?
Contact tracing did not happen for everybody who was in the overflow.
What was the fix? They made another spreadsheet.
-2.
Yeah. Final, extra final, for real final. 2.
This one, this is a link to the PDF. I meant to go back and try to find an article about this, but the link to the PDF tells you what you need to know. It has to do with smart remotes. You see, they have these remote controls now that you can talk to, which means that there's a microphone, which is always on. Guess what researchers were able to make it do?
Where's the remote? Turning remotes into listening devices. So I read most of the PDF, which is quite long. It took me more than an hour to get through.
Why would you bother?
It was kind of interesting.
It's like the whole, like, why was there more paragraphs under this title?
The microcontroller in the remote can be flashed with like infrared signals, and it is trivial. Like you can be outside of somebody's house with an infrared lamp and just flash like through their living room window and reprogram it, and they'd never know. And then it puts it in some kind of a mode, and then you hit it with Bluetooth or something, and then you can reprogram the firmware. But like you can literally live inside that microcontroller in the remote, and no one would ever know.
Everybody's thinking about, it's like, what's the last really bad thing I said around my remote?
No, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I have to write pretty long documents for clients sometimes, and I always think no one's ever going to read this. But in this case, someone spent a lot of time on this PDF, and Wendell did actually read all of it.
I'm sure a lot of people read it. People who are interested in spying on you.
Yeah, I'm going to go right to eBay and buy one of these just to fart around with it.
And now, Krista, we come to the design section, which you've already downplayed.
Yeah, these are kind of lateral moves. We've got 2, but both of them are not particularly that interesting, I guess.
The first is Gmail. I think it's a lot different.
Kind of. I guess, yeah, a little bit. Gmail has a new logo that's a lot more Google. Farewell envelope. They've kept the same shape from the envelope, but they've removed the holding shape and just did the M for mail.
Yeah, but look at the color they threw in.
Because no one knows what an envelope is anymore.
I wonder if that is like a use case they were running into with the younger generation. They're like, people don't know what this is.
I'm not going to notice. I don't care.
It's fine. It's certainly simpler, so it'll match up with the other icons in the Google suite. So, I mean,
here's a question for you, Krista, and I guess this is because okay, I understand. It's the overlap, like because blue and red make whatever that darker red is, and red and green make overlap.
It's supposed to be.
But I don't like the red bordering the red.
Yeah, certainly if someone was colorblind, they probably wouldn't notice that distinction very well. It's not. I mean, it's not something you need to really read, though. It's just an icon. Like you could convert that to black and white, and it would be fine.
We don't need that kind of thing in 2020. We've moved beyond that. And next up is another rebrand from Google's big competitor, I say with a chuckle.
Bing is now Microsoft Bing as the search engine gets a rebrand. The shape is pretty much the same. It's less jagged than what it was previously. But they have done some styling, I think, to bring it more in line with the Edge logo.
I wonder how many events Microsoft has had where they talk about Bing or the technologies that are in it, and they have Bing cherries. It's like, these are the Microsoft Bing cherries. It's like, oh, it's an hors d'oeuvre. Oh, it's a joke.
The one thing that bothers me about this icon is the angles don't match up, like between the top of the B and the curve inward. They're like slightly off of each other.
It's Escher-esque.
It does bend both ways. Like it bends. It maintains the same facing, but you would expect it to rotate the other way. At least I would. For this section.
Broken Krista.
I think we're talking about different things, but usually, like when you're doing a logo, it's really nice if you can get all the angles to line up nicely. And
yeah,
I
understand what you're talking
one
about.
Edge, but like they have the other edge where it's not lined up.
Yeah, like you're talking about, like
I guess it lines up on this side. Yeah. If
you rotated it and turned it around, it might.
Yeah, it's exactly fine. Like I don't think it's going to change their position.
Yeah.
In the world of search engines.
People are going to continue to not use Bing.
Yeah.
That's exactly
I mean, I use DuckDuckGo, and it has a terrible logo. But
every now and then I accidentally use Bing, and it only reinforces my behavior to never, ever use that search engine again. I have wasted the time. Why did I do that?
Yeah, I hate it. Moving on to nonsense. We spend a lot, well, not we personally, but humanity in general spends a lot of time thinking about where we came from and ultimately where we'll go. Not as individuals again. We know where we're going. It's into the dirt or a fire. But
good luck in November.
It's a different kind of fire. As an entire species, as a planet, where do we come from? Where will we go? There's a new answer, and it's kind of crazy.
An earlier universe existed before the Big Bang and can still be observed today, says Nobel Prize winner. He's talking about Hawking points. I guess those are points where there's a black hole that has decayed, but in order for the black hole to have decayed, it had to have existed before the Big Bang, as we understand the Big Bang and the origin of the universe and the age of the universe. And the age of the universe has been confirmed in a whole bunch of there's a lot of corroborating evidence, I should say, for the age of the universe.
So this speaks to a constant cycle of Big Bangs. Expansion, contraction, and bang. Well, like an engine.
We're missing the contraction step because all of the math and everything that we have right now suggests an ever-expanding universe, which doesn't make sense unless the matter decays into something else that then bangs. But in terms of like the matter crunching back together, we don't have any evidence of that.
So, this whole idea that it all ends with some sort of, magic fantasy stuff, maybe not. Maybe just keep cycling. Maybe, a billion years from now, there'll be another Trump election cycle.
No, it's Kanye. It's easy. He's on our ballots here in Kentucky.
Really?
In one of the infinite universe. Yeah, he's I got that's absolutely valid. Yeah. Kanye's on there.
That's amazing.
What would you pay for the bones of a dinosaur? I've never thought about it. If I was forced to think about it, I think my number, let's say I had, money to burn, I don't think I'd spend more than $1 million.
There's actually a lot of really amazing fossils around here, not dinosaurs, but
not complete.
Yeah.
And that is the thing about Stan. He is nearly complete.
Someone bought a T-Rex skeleton for a record-breaking $31.8 million. And this article goes on to talk about how the Field Museum, the Smithsonian, I guess, Field Museum, they paid like $6 or $8 million in 1997, and everybody thought that was controversially high. But yeah, 31.8 million. Christie's handled this auction, and they were like, it'll probably go for 8 to 10 million. 31.8. They had no idea.
That is the record, the most expensive dinosaur ever sold.
Is that like a Skyrim NPC buying dragon bones? Like, that, they always pay so much for it.
I feel almost certain this is Jeff Bezos.
Do you think there will be any magic in grinding up his bones and creating magical items with them?
Okay, so Ray Kurzweil maybe?
Now, they point out he is 40 feet long and 14 feet tall. Was Jurassic Park lying to us about the height of T-Rexes?
This one was 20 and had a lot of injuries, so I'm telling. There were definitely large T-Rexes.
Yeah, but the one in Jurassic Park picked up the Jeep.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really big.
Well,
Paleontologist.
he was genetically modified. You know, he wasn't all dinosaur.
He was eating all that GMO food.
No, he was part frog DNA.
On hormones.
Nature
Oh,
found
the
the
Jurassic
way.
Park one. Oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. So maybe they were extra big. Okay. Is that canon? I think I've read that.
That is
book.
canon. That's actually how they reproduce. That's like a major plot point. Come on.
Well, no, I know about the frog thing, but did that make them big? Is what I'm saying. Is that a canon thing?
It's funny because when the paleontologists arrive in the park in the book, they're kind of like, you know, are these real dinosaurs? And they're like, yeah, they're real. And they're like, but you've entered so much other DNA to splice it together. And they're like, well, there's some things that we've had to change, but it's mostly the same. And so the paleontologists are kind of snooty about it, and they're like, they're not real dinosaurs. So.
Now, Krista, in a recent episode of the news, I noticed one commenter said that you had like a beautiful glow about you, and they wondered if perhaps you had an announcement to make.
No announcements.
No?
No announcements.
Well, pretty soon, is it next year or the year after, we plan to send some lovely ladies to the moon, and perhaps they will have a different kind of glow.
Straight to the moon, Alice. Not that at all. Radiation levels on the moon more than double those on the space station. I don't think Alice would have liked that.
I'm bleeding from the eyes, Norton.
There's going to be 4 people in our audience who get that. They're really going to enjoy it.
So yeah, we've never been able to measure the radiation on the moon because I guess the original moon landing they didn't take that kind of gear, but the Chang'e is up there, the Chinese satellite, and it was able to get some measurements. Turns out it's a lot.
Underground lava tubes on the moon. That's our only option. We got to drill a hole in the top of the lava tube that's near the surface and just turn that into it. Some of those are miles big. That'll be great. New Tycho City. It's going to be underground. It's going to be great.
They point out
put a shower on your spaceship and just rinse the radiation away.
that's exactly how it works. All that extra water you have on a moon mission. They point out that piling up the lunar soil will be your best bet, they think.
Lava tubes.
You build a structure, you cover it in dirt.
Lava tubes.
Krista, you're into that. What do you call those things?
Earth ships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moon well, it can't be an Earth ship.
It's a moon ship. But Earth ships require water, like rainwater, so I don't know how that would work. But I guess you
be
just bring
tough.
your own and then dump it in there.
One of the problems with moon dust is that it's so abrasive because it's so pointy. It just digs into everything and scratches everything.
Yeah, it's so abrasive. It's constantly making racist Twitter posts. This is a story I was talking about in the last episode, and this is just mind-blowing because they talk about the odds of it all, and when you break it down, if you believe. Now here's the linchpin. Let's take a poll. Do you believe that there could easily exist, or let's say, does there exist, an alien civilization so much more advanced than us that they could run our existence as a simulation? I'm going to say yes.
It seems likely on something with a 15 billion year time scale. Or more, now that we know that, there were things that existed before then.
Krista?
I don't think so.
All right, well, you lose. It's 2-1. And so if that is true, then the odds are staggering that we're probably a simulation.
Could our entire reality be part of a simulation created by some other beings? Well, Gizmodo has got a fairly long article that will walk you through the reasoning there. I'm not sure that this isn't like one of those novelty math proofs they teach you in college where you can prove that 2 is equal to 1 and you got to really take it apart to see that you're dividing by 0 or something to get that result, but...
No, I totally believe it, and I say that morality and, just any kind of feelings you have towards your fellow man, that's out the window. Good luck in November.
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
And speaking of morality and horrible, horrible human beings, this story was I wish there were more details. I want to know what they did and what brought this about. I really need to know more about this.
Probably going to be on Netflix. OKC jailers face cruelty charge for playing Baby Shark on loop. It's inhuman, according to the prosecutor. So they were only charged with misdemeanors, but they were doing some really seriously inhuman things, far beyond that, in my opinion, to people in jail.
And you were shackled. You had to stand, so there's no sleeping through the Baby Shark. And you got hours and hours of high-volume Baby Shark on a loop.
That is pretty brutal.
Unpleasant. You think you get like a PTSD from that, and then every time you hear it,
yeah, it's part of the whole MO of the whole prison system in America is dehumanizing the people.
Yeah, unfortunate.
That really ruins Shark Week. For all time.
You think they play Baby Shark during Shark Week?
No, they just hear the word, and you're just immediately like taken back.
Well, there's a great joke, and it is sad, but it is a reality that certain forms of printer ink, and maybe toner, I don't know about toner, are literally more valuable than their weight in liquid gold. And we pay for it. It's not that way because it's actually worth that amount. It's because of the crazy cabal of printers and the printer companies. So when you are part of a public entity that gets that for free, maybe you do a little enterprising on the side.
Former Texas Public Library employee charged with theft of $1.3 million in printer toner. The accused, Randall Whitted, I don't know how you say his name.
Whited?
He worked for the library as its purchasing agent. $1.3 million of toner cartridges.
That's like, 6 cartridges?
Yeah.
It's still like a lot. That is a shocking... And like... What your eBay account and stuff like that? It's like, how are you coming across all this toner?
Yeah, he didn't think it through. He didn't try to hide it at all. Didn't try to launder the money. Got a little greedy. What do you think he would have gotten away with? What's the tipping point where it's like, okay, you went too far?
I would have thought it was a much smaller number.
I'd say $100K. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm counting myself lucky.
Like maybe the odd toner cartridge missing like once or twice a year. Well, that's probably $100,000 of toner.
And I'm going to rotate it through different kinds of accounts, and maybe I'll sell it on the dark web.
The dark web for printer cartridges.
Get Monero for it.
Do people even print anything anymore?
I've had some
Not since
things
the pandemic.
where people be like, "Hey, print this order form and send it in with your item or your payment." I was like, "What?"
The toner cartridges in our printers last for 15,000 pages. And I think we're down to about 1 cartridge a year at this point.
Yeah, there's no reason to print things anymore. Do you guys have phones? Here's a story that I feel like any commentary I have about it is just going to, cause those people to comment. And I don't want to hear from them. So let's just...
Transgender man sues Amazon for pregnancy and gender identity discrimination. So... There's a lot of disturbing stuff here, but this person said that they were pregnant and Amazon wouldn't reassign them. And so it's in a lawsuit. We're going to cover the lawsuit when the lawsuit concludes, but either the person who wrote this article was not good with pronouns or I don't understand how the pregnancy is a thing.
No, this is...
I think this was a woman and they transitioned so they present as a man.
Oh my God, Chris, you're going to get us killed. Yeah. So... Obviously.
Well, if that's true, then Amazon is a huge pile of trouble.
Trigger alert. A man cannot get pregnant. So this is a woman who transitioned into a man, but didn't actually go through with any sort of surgical...
Oh, yeah, then Amazon's in trouble.
So, but apparently it was pretty convincing. probably some hormone treatment or something going on there. So a man was showing up to work saying I'm a man, and no one knew any better. And then the man said, I'm pregnant. So some people were like, wait, what? Prove it. Because they thought they were just trying to get out of work. Now, something I learned, as part of becoming a man, if you're a real man, you just, you deal with your pregnancies. You grow some balls. You deal with your pregnancies. That's part of it.
It seems like there were several steps before someone finally was like, you need a verification from your doctor. But I feel like that would have been the first step when someone was like, I don't believe you. Like, why would you not just bring a doctor's note, like with an ultrasound or something?
Yeah, well, maybe because you were trying to stir up trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, this was probably not handled well by him.
Maybe there's like a mental disability going on there. I read this.
We got people submitted this story to the point that I just didn't even care.
The thing about this story is when you read it, it kind of describes how that ring performs this task. This is for a male. I can't figure it out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Security flaw left smart chastity sex toy users at risk of permanent lock-in. So, see the bar? The bar, like, you would not be able to remove the bar without a lot of discomfort.
It's like a seatbelt on a carnival ride.
Yes.
But how does that stop me? Where do I insert myself into this device?
It's like a wrist. So, like, you know how handcuffs work on a wrist kind of a thing? It's like that. But it's not just the thing, it's also the other dangly things that are because that is smaller potentially than, and so you're not going to be able to move the thing off without severe discomfort because something would have to compress.
Oh, so that part
Yes.
is sticking forward, which would prevent you
Yep.
from inserting.
Yep.
Okay, I got you.
It turns out these are just buggy AF and they're made by two people. So even without the security risk, there were people that were like, hey, this doesn't work. I can't get it off. You have to use an angle grinder to get it off, which has a risk of injury.
Yeah, I imagine that metal would conduct a little heat.
Yeah. Turns out. So
They actually, it's a Chinese company, and they contacted them. They're like, hey, you got to fix this. And they're like, okay, we think we can fix this by August. And then by August, they had not done anything. So they called them back up, and they're like, listen, we can't figure it out. Every time we try to add a password, it just breaks everything. So I don't know.
people are going to be hurt by, like, be sure that it's not in use when you do the firmware upgrade. I mean, just, this is like, okay, we include this because it's funny. But in the not too distant future, we are going to have the cyberpunk future. You're going to have, like, the Honeywell brand, arm augment, and it's going to be this buggy. As buggy and terrible as this thing is, and this thing messing up your junk, that Honeywell implant in your arm is going to be exactly as buggy and terrible. So it's like, oh, I got the strength implant. And it's like, what's wrong with your fist? It's clenched. And it's like, yeah, it's breaking my knuckles right now. There's not really much I can do to stop it. That's how it's going to be.
Now, some other questions I had about this. Is this waterproof, you think?
No.
So how... You have to bathe.
Yeah, there were a lot of people complaining about a lot of problems with those.
Also, what
it's
if
like the ankle monitor?
It's just a bad idea.
You got to put a Ziploc bag over your ankle monitor to take a shower.
That's going to be an interesting piece of logistics. What if you're in a car accident? Like sometimes they have to cut your clothes off.
Yeah,
because you like have. What if you have shrapnel under this thing?
Yeah, that's there's some funny stories about that online with some other things.
Why would anybody do that? Starting the animal block, and I want to go ahead and get the darkest story out of the way. And this is another story that doesn't give me enough information. Why? Why would you? Not only why would you do this, but like, was there some situation where they felt like they needed to? It seems like it was just for fun. Is that what you...
Yeah, because they were sharing videos of it, which is why we included it in the technology nonsense.
It's just...
Yeah. Police accused of beating porcupines to death with batons, which makes no sense, but they were all getting a good laugh out of it, apparently, and sharing videos of it on Instagram, so probably contributing to somebody's PTSD inside Facebook.
They are facing animal cruelty charges and have been fired. Reminder that of all the murders that have happened this year, very few of them have been fired. It turns out people are more upset about porcupines than human life.
Yeah, well, at least a human is a threat. Porcupines didn't do anything.
Are they considered a varmint now?
They got
I don't think
they got
so.
those spines, man.
Yeah, but that's a defensive tactic.
No, they need to be shot on sight.
This is a very large data point on the whole, like, mental well-being of those maybe should not be in the public trust position.
Oh, yeah, like, we need to screen heavily for people who are doing this kind of thing. Yeah, that's crazy.
I can't wait for more VR, because maybe we can do a VR screening, and it's like, oh, this is a law enforcement person in training. All right, let's send them through the porcupine scenario. Like, nope, ejected.
What do you think about you're a porcupine? You start your day, and you're thinking about, what are the things that could happen to me today that I need to watch out for?
It's
And
poor porcupine.
You never see the baton coming.
No.
This story, however, is very heartwarming, and it makes me think back to Romeo, who had such a happy ending. And this one is it was Pumpkin, and what was the boy's name?
Oh, I don't remember.
Harris?
A lonely otter at a sanctuary finds love online through a dating site built just for him. So
His name was Harris.
There was one nature preserve, and there was a pair of otters, and they're elderly otters, and one of the elderly otters passed away. So they created a dating profile. So Harris 10, and there was another nature preserve that had the opposite problem. One of their otters passed away, and so they relocated the otter from one place to another so that the otters wouldn't be lonely. But they weren't sure that the otters would accept one another, but because they were both lonely, they've taken to each other.
They pointed out that it was actually a kind of a May-December thing going on there, because Harris is 10, his lover was 16.
Yeah.
And I think the new one is also kind of an older gal.
Yeah.
But they pointed out that Harris was just like, he catered to her every whim. He would massage her, he would bring her food. His whole world was giving her whatever she wanted. And after her death, he was quite forlorn.
Well, we need this level of heartwarming after the previous story.
Yeah. Let's hope that the cops don't get called to this next preserve. Jesus, that would be the darkest timeline. And often we use animals. Last week we talked about those poor rats who had to sniff out landmines.
Yeah.
We use dogs for that. I think that dogs, though, aren't expected to like trigger them. They just sniff them because they can smell them. But because of the way, dog training works, you have to be nearby to give them instructions. And the Army is trying to work on a way to not have to do that.
The U.S. Army is putting AR goggles on military dogs to better guide them.
Look at this dog. Look how happy he is.
So the AR goggles give the operator, the vantage point of the dog, one, but they'll also display on the screen cues to the dog, like go forward, left, right, whatever.
I imagine there's probably some sort of auditory addition to it as well. Now you might be thinking, how are you going to get a dog to wear AR goggles? It turns out these dogs already wear protective gear for their eyes. So they're already trained to deal with this kind of thing.
Nice.
Kristen, would you get Rue AR goggles?
No, I'm pretty sure Rue would throw those off and chew on them. She doesn't like to wear anything on her head.
We need to get Rue the dog helmet from Rick and Morty. Just dial her intelligence up a little bit. That would be amazing.
She's so smart. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah. You'd turn it up to 11, and she would just be like a basic dog at that point.
Oh, she's so good. Surprised she hasn't come up here.
She's not with us today?
No, she's downstairs.
People do love to see her. You should make it a point to bring her.
To bring her up, yeah.
Technology often turns against the poor little animals, as we've seen, but sometimes it can help us save them from evil poachers.
Fake eggs fitted with GPS track sea turtle traffickers in Central America. This is amazing. They 3D printed fake turtle eggs with battery-operated GPS trackers and buried them with real sea turtle eggs. And sure enough, the poachers dug up the fake eggs along with the real ones, and that was enough for authorities to track them.
Did you have any idea that sea turtle eggs were a delicacy in some parts of the world?
I had never heard that.
Yeah. But apparently, and I assume that the exchange rate is pretty extreme in these parts of the world, because they talk about how you can make a living just stealing sea turtle eggs, which is illegal, but they're just $1 US per egg.
Yeah.
Although there's like 200 in every clutch. So I guess it's, worth your time.
Yeah, if you just had one clutch a day, that's not a terribly unreasonable living.
Now, you're not allowed to sell these eggs. As we said, it's protected species. So generally, they discovered that most people were probably doing it door to door. So you go and you get some eggs, and then you go to people's back doors, and they were literally able to prove that based on the GPS movement.
Scary.
That's I'm just imagining that, like, in my own neighborhood. We're in a landlocked state, thousands of miles from the coast, and some guy just comes to the back door and he's like, "Would you like to buy some sea turtle eggs?"
I have a feeling that, like, if we are in a simulation, like we talked about in the earlier story, and it's like, the Q continuum or something, or the ones running that simulation, all of these stories are just going to be like exhibits A through F for why we should just not, the human race should not be allowed to continue on. This is just terrible.
Well, I mean, a lot of animals steal eggs.
For every happy otter reunion story, we have, you had to do what now? You had to put a piece of your technology inside an egg in order to make human beings not be awful.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about, humanity. But it's also the thing, that always blows my mind is that we have people, for example, the Supreme Court. And they live.
It's like cracking a safe. No.
They live alongside guys who are working in the fabrication plants in Taiwan. And we're the same species. And yet. Yeah. So I guess that's what makes it exciting, right? To be a human. But what would maybe make it exciting to be a bear would to be a year in Alaska where not a lot of humans have become calling because, the crazy 2020 that we're having. It turns out that the rivers and the salmon that swim in them have mostly been untouched this year and left just to the bears, which leads to this kind of thing.
Reuters has this amazing article about wide-bodied. The headline is "Wide-bodied 747 crowned Alaska's fattest bear." This bear's name is aptly 747. His belly is dragging the snow. What kind of footprint does that create in the snow?
He's hungry.
What a chonker.
For humans, Fat Bear Week is a way to learn from a distance about nature and Alaska. They made a holiday for this little guy.
So you actually get to vote online.
Yeah, everybody uploads their bear photos, and it's like, oh, that's 747.
They tell you not to run away from a bear, but I think you could probably outrun him.
Oh, no. I bet once that momentum gets started, you're dead.
Again,
He just turns into a ball. He rolls down the hill after you.
I have the mental picture in my head of what the footprints in the snow look like, where it's like paw prints with like this bowl-shaped
The
groove
trench,
in the snow. Yeah. It's just endlessly amusing.
Was he dragging a sled?
Oh, Lord.
The thing that kills me here, though, Reuters, come on, one picture?
Yeah.
There should be a huge gallery of 747. But I think you can go to the site where they voted and probably see video of
Fat Bear
it there.
Week.
So,
It's
on
on explore.org/Fat Bear Week.
Oh, 747.
All right, well, that's it.
Sounds good.
So
We'll see you next week.
Krista, you know what this is going to be. It's going to be the fattest bear goodbye.
Goodbye.